So what I want to do, and we'll start with Manny Hill, is go through the 3 reasons why we all think that the Vikings will win the division. Okay. Which would almost certainly require them to win 3 consecutive games. Now, where belief has to be suspended a bit to do this is I'm going to start off by saying the assumption is Packers will lose at home to the Bears on Sunday. Might not happen, but could happen. And then obviously the Vikings will beat the Packers a week from Monday night at US Bank Stadium. All right?
Okay.
And so the path is cleared. 3 reasons why you believe that the Vikings will win the NFC North. And the one thing that I'm going to take off the table because it's too obvious is Kirk Cousins. Because we know he has to play well. And if you also want to counter then with 3 reasons why you think they won't, that's fine too. But let's start. Manny Hill, 3 reasons why you think the Vikings will win the division. And thank you very much. I always like the football music. In fact, hold on a second here. I'll play this.
Football.
Yes.
Just to sort of put the cherry on top of the football.
Absolutely. Especially for this tune.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
They're all good.
All right, gentlemen. Reason number 1 why the Vikings will win the NFC North. I think it's pretty obvious. The defense improves from what we've been seeing for the last month or so, especially. Specifically, the defensive backs improve. And I think it will have to come down to Mike Zimmer at least sticking with this sort of cornerback rotation that he has now, at least what he tried against Detroit on Sunday.
Sure.
I think that has to continue in order for this team to win the NFC North. If they go back to Xavier Rhodes, you're going to play 65 snaps against the Chargers and the Packers. That's not a recipe for winning the NFC
Xavier's
North.
hurt now, too. Keep that in mind. You could easily say, Xavier, man, I'm really sorry, but Sunday's just a no-go.
Yeah, we need to see a lot more Mike Hughes. We need to see a lot more Holton Hill. And I think it starts this Sunday in Los Angeles.
All right, that's reason 1.
Reason number 2, Dalvin Cook remains as healthy as possible.
That's one of mine.
That's a good one.
I know that he's not 100% because he's dealing with the chest, shoulder thingy, whatever it may be.
It's a good way to describe it, though, the chest shoulder thingy, because we really have no idea what's going on there.
Right. So I think he needs to be as healthy as possible. Like this, whatever he's dealing with that particular issue, that needs to be it as far as how healthy he is. So he needs to be as healthy as possible because he is critical to the offense having as much success as possible.
Might have helped, for instance, not to have played him against the Lions on Sunday. I'm just going to throw that out there. I've gotten some pushback. Mackey fought me, but I said it's the Detroit Lions. Alexander Madison might have been absolutely fine in that game. I think he would have been fine, but yes. All right, so reason 2 for you, Manny Hill, is Dalvin Cook.
And number 3, Adam Thielen returns and is productive as possible as well. I think it will only help Kirk Cousins. It will only help Dalvin Cook. It'll only help Stephon Diggs. It'll only help Irv Smith and Kyle Rudolph. And it'll only help the offense as a whole. And in some ways, it could probably help the defense too, because if the Vikings can maintain possession offensively, remain consistent,
agree completely,
remain efficient on that side, that means their defense is not on the field as much.
Yep.
And I think it can help all parties involved.
All right. So yours are Dalvin Cook, Thielen returns, and of course the idea is now the cornerback rotation as opposed to go knock him dead, Xavier, and then he gets burned in. Danny Cunningham, your 3 reasons why you think the Vikings, or if they are to win the division, what will have to happen?
Manny and I have very similar thoughts here. I also have the Dalvin Cook one, so I don't want to dive too deep into that. I also think that Dalvin Cook needs to continue to be healthy, be healthier as the season rolls along for them to be the NFC North winners. So that's reason number 1. Don't have to dive deep into there.
Sure.
Reason number 2, man, you brought up defense in the cornerback position. I think the defensive line can start having more of an impact on the game.
Yeah.
And I think for them to win the NFC North, that's one of the reasons I'm going to go with that. We're going to see Danielle Hunter continue to just be a freak. Everson Griffin continue to be terrific. But I also think we're going to see a little bit of improvement from the other guys. I think that's a big reason as to why they could win this division.
Interior rush, too.
Yeah, that's
definitely.
That's something this defense is missing, has been missing for much of the season. And I think that this is an opportunity for them because Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin are going to get tons of attention. And furthermore, I think we see Anthony Barr rush the passer a little bit more, too.
I would love to see that. That's the one I've been waiting for how long, Manny?
Yeah.
Well, when was he drafted?
Waiting for
2014.
2014.
Since 2014.
I've been waiting
First
for it since
draft pick.
2014. That is seriously of all my Minnesota sports, I expect to see this through the years right now. Anthony Barr rushing the passer, guys, might be my top one of things I have given up on and bailed on.
Yeah.
Because you just don't, and I'm not saying he never does it. He does do it sometimes. But as far as this makes total sense, and I think it's going to happen. I've bailed. I just don't know. The cornerback rotation, right? We all said, how long ago did we start to talk about, well, you can't play Rhodes as much? Was that a month and a half ago? 2 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
And you kept saying to yourself, he's going to have to adjust. He's going to have to adjust. And he basically didn't. And then Sunday he did. And so he did on Sunday. And you're like, okay, that finally makes sense. He's finally done what makes sense. The Barr one, I've just given up on.
Well, here's what trips me out about that too is, and obviously if you're Mike Zimmer and you're the head coach of a football team, you don't have to listen to every single thing that a player tells you that he wants to do. But doesn't Anthony Barr kind of want to rush the passer more?
One would think.
I mean, that's kind of what we've always heard, though, right?
Let me throw,
right, Judd? That he wants to do more of that?
Yes, let me throw this thought at you, though. Did he in some ways forfeit the right to talk about that by begging to come back here and signing back here? Because I always thought that first contract, man, if you want to get paid, right?
Yeah,
if you put up sack totals, you're going to get paid by somebody probably huge.
Yeah.
And so I always thought he's going to leave here and he's going to go rush the passer, for instance, with the Jets.
Yeah.
And he's going to get, I don't know, 8 sacks. And we're all going to say, why not here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, man, when you make a panicked call from New Jersey begging to come back here and begging to play in how Zim sees fit, I think you might lose your right to be, oh, man, it'd be nice to rush. But that is among the biggest Minnesota sports gripes that I had and just gave up on. Because it seems to make so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Danny's right. And it could you would think it could cause absolute havoc.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyway, so that's your second one.
Number 3.
Yes, sir.
The Chicago Bears have quit on the season. Week 17, they could be eliminated.
Yeah.
They likely will be eliminated. And that means they might not care. Because I do think Chicago, while I don't think they're as talented as the Vikings, or certainly not as good as the Vikings of a football team right now.
Sure.
I think that they're a tough matchup for the Vikings. And I think that matters.
Let's explore the space of that. Because that's a really interesting dynamic. Because to me, we just saw a team come here that had quit. Now, they're playing their third string quarterback. Understand that. So it's tough. Here's my gut on the Bears. I have no evidence or have not read a thing that they hate their coach. Trubisky, I think, is a pain to play with.
Sure.
But I don't think he's despised.
But I think because their defense is so good.
Right. But so do you think that your third one will happen by then? By week 17?
I'm on the fence about it. I think it kind of depends on what happens leading up to week 17. I think that's what's going to decide whether or not it happens, because I'm curious what happens leading up to then. And also because they're so good defensively, I think a lot of those guys, I don't want to say are going to take the night off, but they might make some business decisions.
And the Lions were. The Lions defense was making business decisions right and left.
They might make some business decisions. Week 17, they're nothing to play for. You only get so many snaps in a career. And I think that some business decisions could be made by Chicago.
So that would start, in my opinion, if it's Bears defensive players making business decisions with Khalil Mack.
Yes.
Like if Khalil Mack bails, then they all bail.
And Roquan Smith's already gone.
And he's hurt.
He's not playing.
I don't see Khalil Mack bailing.
I mean, is Akeem Hicks going to play? He's been battling injury all year.
He can come back now, right?
Yeah, but is he going to come back for that? Is he going to play still? Say, once they get eliminated, what's the point of playing him? Let him heal.
That's true.
If he does play, though, he'll bring it.
Sure, but
he'll be like Khalil Mack. He'll bring it. But
I wouldn't
to
let
your
him
point,
play.
like, why would he play if he's not healthy?
Because it's the Vikings and it's a division game.
But it's meaningless, and you want to be better for next year.
What's your sense on that, Manny? Do you think the Bears would bail on that game or not if they if they're done, if they're cooked.
See, I just have this weird feeling that the Bears, particularly their defense, they know they have the Vikings number right now. And I
Yep.
think I could buy how they might want to continue to just be like a spoiler because they know that they can take care of business typically against this offense. Now, I think the question for them is going to be, are they going to be healthy enough? You know, I think if they play, I think they'll bring it. I think Khalil Mack will bring it. I think Akeem Hicks, if he does play, again, I'm with Danny on that. I wouldn't play him if he's not healthy. But if he does play, he'll bring it because I think those guys are sort of wired that way, that they're not gonna dog it, especially when they've had so much success against this team.
Danny's probably right. I bet they wouldn't play him.
But it just doesn't make sense to.
But
it doesn't.
But Khalil Mack probably would play. And I think if Khalil Mack plays and says, I'm playing hard, everybody has to play hard. At that point in time, you can't have guys bail. The interesting thing is, so if this was the last game was against Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And they're out. Then I think they don't play anybody. They don't really care. Or if they do play, they don't care. The Bears division game, don't hate their coach, tough year. I think all of those things go into a stew where I can't see the Vikings being fortunate enough to play a Bears team that says, we don't care.
See, the other thing too is Matt Nagy safe? Is his job safe now?
I think it is now.
Because if we get to week 17, if we get to week 17 and they're out of it, and if there's rumblings that he might not be back, you know, he's probably going to want them to play hard for him.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Very much so.
And if they like him.
But I mean, what he wants versus what actually happens could be two different things.
True.
That's true, but that goes back to my point of
Matt Patricia doesn't want his guys to quit on him, but
But is Nagy liked? Is my question. Matt Patricia's not liked. I can tell you that's not hard to figure out. Matt Patricia's not liked. But if Khalil Mack says we're playing hard on defense, the Bears are a pain then. The Bears will give you a tough game.
Yeah.
The Bears and if I thought if we all knew that Nagy was despised, then I would say they will bail for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen a coach despised who players say, we despise you so much, we're going to show you.
Yeah, right.
In week 17.
If they still like him, I tend to think they'll still play for him in week 17, even if they're out of it.
What players say is, we despise you, so we're going to quit. And by the way, my ankle hurts a lot.
Yep.
I mean, the Lions game, have you guys, those games, the only slightly comical thing about that Detroit game was the amount of defensive players. And by the way, the Lions coached by a defensive guy, supposed to be a defensive team.
Yeah.
The amount of players who hit the turf and thought to themselves, I could get up, but I'm not going to. That's December.
Yeah.
That's December, and those are guys that say, Matt Patricia's a buffoon. Can't stand him. Vikings Ventline is the show going through the three things right now that it will take, that each of us think it'll take for the Vikings to win the NFC North title, taking into account that we are assuming the Packers lose to the Bears on Sunday, which, of course, is going to be probably a long shot. But
it's a lofty assumption.
Yes, but if they lose, obviously, to the Bears and Vikings over the next 2 weeks, that will put the Packers, even if they win that last game at 11-5, the Vikings could then win all three games, go 12-4, and win the division outright. And the one thing that we are excluding, Kirk Cousins, because obviously if he plays great, they're going to win. And if he doesn't, they won't. 651-646-8255 if you'd like to join the conversation on Vikings Ventline. 651-646-8255. TCL Broadcast Studios. All right, gentlemen, here are my three. I'm going with Manny's, I believe, third one.
Adam
Thielen returns, and I'm going to put a percentage on this, at least 80%, because he needs to be a viable threat. He needs to be a threat. But if you put him back in an offense with Diggs, Thielen now, as a threat, has to be covered, can cause some problems, and that helps Cook. This offense goes from, I think this offense now, probably you could call it good, right? Solid?
Yeah.
Yep.
To potentially dynamic.
The question I have off of that is, not only is 80% enough to be effective, is 80% enough to stay healthy, to not re-injure it? Because that's
I'm assuming yes, but it's a
hamstring.
But that's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know if 80% is enough to be effective, but I have less doubt about that than I do 80% what's the chances this thing gets tweaked?
Yeah, the problem here is, what would it have to be at percentage-wise to take the chance? Because I'm assuming at 80% he can do things. Clearly, if it's below that, at some point in time, he and the medical staff on the Vikings have to just say it's not worth even trying it.
Hamstrings are tricky.
Right.
I don't know that I can give out a real percentage, but hamstrings are tricky. If you've ever pulled your hamstring,
no, thank you.
You know that it's not a fun experience, and there's really not much you can do other than just wait.
I pulled it once when I was like in my early 20s, and it's not fun.
I pulled it in college.
Feel good at all.
It's not pleasant.
Well, and then the problem was, to your point, Danny, he tried to come back, played 9 snaps against the Chiefs?
4.
Or yeah, and then he came back again in practice after the bye week, so after a complete week of rest, and tweaked it again. So, but yes, one is that this team's chances hinge, at least partially offensively, on the return of Thielen and him being a viable threat here. So not just he's going to stand in the corner there and we're all going to pretend he's good. He actually has to be decent.
Yes.
Number 2, I'm not going to give the Rhodes has to improve because it's not going to happen. I'm going to give the Mike Hughes, as much as we might talk about rotations here, I think Mike Hughes has to take a step to being a reliable, because Holton Hill got snaps against Detroit in the second half.
Yeah.
But Holton Hill clearly does not have the trust.
No, which is unfortunate, because I would like to see what he could do in a real situation.
I would too. And I think that they put up with a lot from Holton, so I think that there's a chance that your wish will come true in 2020.
Yeah.
But for right now, I don't think it's realistic to say that Holton Hill is going to all of a sudden start playing a ton. I don't think it's realistic to say that Xavier Rhodes is going to start to run like he did 3 years ago. That's not going to happen.
It's pretty fair to say he won't.
So beyond all the talk about the rotation and this guy can play and that guy can play, I'm going to give you this. Mike Hughes has to turn into a reliable cornerback who you would be absolutely positively comfortable with starting.
Yeah.
So let's not talk about, well, Hughes is going to be replaced by Rhodes, and then he's going to be replaced by Holton Hill, and then Wade's going to come out of the game. It's going to be great. Let's talk about a first-round draft pick in his second year now. And I know he tore the ACL last year, but it's been more than a year since that. He's played a lot now. Are you comfortable putting him on the field to start a football game? And if he has to play, heck, let's say this, if he has to play 65 snaps, Mike Hughes can do that.
Yes, he certainly can.
And if he can do that, and if he can hold up, and I don't care if quarterbacks pick on him, the question is, can he break the passes up? Can he turn himself into a player that quarterbacks don't want to pick on? Mike Hughes, to me, is an incredibly piece of this puzzle.
And not commit penalties, too.
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
What Xavier's been doing all year. That's been terrible.
Well, but Rhodes is doing that because he can't run.
Yeah.
So he just basically holds on for dear life.
And gets penalties.
Yeah.
As we know.
651-646-8255, TCL Broadcast Studios, Vikings Ventline. Let's take a phone call. Megan, what's going on?
Hello, gentlemen. First-time caller.
Great to hear from you, Megan.
Yes, I moved here from Minneapolis, but I'm in Dallas, Texas, and it's chilly at 38 degrees. Y'all.
Megan, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, Megan, we are. This is no way to make a positive impression on us when we're sitting here in minus, 5?
This is not how you get in the coffee club, Megan.
Yeah, exactly, Megan.
I'm just sharing.
Well,
Gil Brandt says I'm the best darned Vikings fan in all of Texas.
Nice.
So, yeah, I call into Sirius XM all the time.
Okay.
So, yeah. Those are my boys. But yeah,
good job.
I was curious because I was watching on Facebook Live, and that's what got me interested. I kind of wanted your thoughts, your summarization, if you will, on our situation at cornerback, because we just stink all the time in our secondary and with our cornerbacks. And I don't understand it. I mean, since Antoine Winfield, I can't think of another player that was like, memorable to me at cornerback. So just curious about your guys' thoughts.
Thank you. Outstanding call.
Stay warm down there.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. 38.
We'll do our best at 38. But by the way, guys, on a side note,
yes.
I'm headed to Chicago tomorrow, so I'll be the biggest Bears fan you ever met in all of flipping Chicago. I lived there 8 years. I will be the biggest Bears fan anybody's ever met because you know what? We got to get the pack. The pack has to go.
All right, Megan. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for the call, man.
Enjoy the trip and stay warm.
38 degrees.
So hold on a second. So I'm trying to think about the cornerbacks here because she's exactly right for a long, long time. I mean, this is the franchise that drafted Marcus McCauley, Asher Allen, Josh Robinson. She's exactly right on
Those
that.
were some bad ones, man.
I mean, but
also, Mike did, to his credit, get here and stabilize things a lot.
But also, like Xavier Rhodes is a memorable quarterback. The guy was one of the best in the league. Just he's not that anymore.
And I think once Mike got the job here, he went to work on doing a fantastic job of developing those corners.
Yeah, certainly.
So I don't have a complaint. In fact, I think beyond 2014, when Mike had just gotten here, this is easily the most suspect cornerback crew, right? Or play, not crew, but play that they've gotten.
Since Mike got here, yeah.
But before Mike, it was a gong show.
Was bad.
Antoine, I loved him. He's
Antoine
fantastic.
Was great.
He was fantastic. But if you think about, well, you know what? Cedric Griffin. Yeah. How often did Cedric Griffin get burned? And he was actually among their guys at the time, not that bad.
No, yeah, he was solid.
But yeah, there was
Chris Cook.
Megan's right. Oh, and Chris Cook was a second-round draft pick. Yeah. That's the one thing that I've always held to be, I believe to be true, is this. Wide receivers, I can find some good ones. 5th round, 4th round, 6th round.
As we've seen.
Yeah, we've seen that. Running backs, same exact thing. But if you want a true cornerback, if you've identified a true cornerback, don't hesitate to pick that guy 1st round.
Yeah.
Because the Vikings.
You can't miss, though. You better be right.
Oh, yes. Yeah, but the Vikings, Manny's exactly right. Chris Cook, 2nd round. Marcus McCauley, 3rd round.
Yeah.
Asher
Allen, too small, 3rd round. And they kept trying to go down this list of, well, we'll find one. And you wanted to say, don't you realize you won't? Rhodes was a 1st-round pick in the same draft. In the 1st round, they had 3 picks all close together and took what? They took Rhodes, Sharif Floyd, Rhodes,
and Cordero.
And then made the trade with the Patriots for Cordero. So they went from the corner 1st round, to which I said, bravo, to the wide receiver 1st round, to which I said, why did you do that?
You also, I think, kind of have to think about who are the guys that are making the Pro Bowl? Who are the guys that are all pro players at that position? Where were they drafted? Because for the most part, Kyle Fuller, 1st-round pick, right?
Yep.
Stephon Gilmore. And I know New England's a little different. I don't remember where he was drafted, but that's the type of player it is.
Mm-hmm.
The only exception to that rule is like Richard Sherman was like a 4th-round pick.
Yeah, well,
and that's in part because he spent half his career at Stanford playing wide receiver.
Yep.
He wasn't seasoned.
Yep.
So of course that's a different scenario. He went into Stanford as a wide receiver.
Yep.
Yeah, no, and they tried for so long, and it drove you crazy to say, oh, we'll take this guy in the 3rd round, and he'll be great. And you watch these guys, Danny and Mankato, and you said, this ain't going to work.
Nope.
All right, so my final one, the 3 reasons why I gave you Thielen returns and is a viable threat, which obviously makes the offense much more potent. The second one, forget the rotation for 1 second. Mike Hughes can just flat out play. Mike Hughes just turns out to be, he's a 1st-round pick. It shouldn't be shocking if he's good.
Yeah.
And the third one, so I went offense, I went defense. I can't resist. Special teams. Dan Bailey holds up through this whole thing. Yeah. Now, let me give you the stats for this year, because I will tell you guys, we are taking Dan Bailey for granted right now.
Yeah.
On field goals this year. And this includes the blocked, extra point at Green Bay, and I think he missed a kick there. So that's back in week 2. On field goals, Dan Bailey, 18 of 20 in 2019. On extra points, he is 35 of 38.
Yeah.
We're taking Dan Bailey for granted. Don't do it, folks. Don't make the same mistake that we've made time and time again. Appreciate the fact that this guy what training camp was, I've got no clue. You trade a 5th-round pick for a kicker who you cut. To do what? Try and get in Dan Bailey's head?
That's what still trips me out about not wanting to give up big draft capital for a guy like Jalen Ramsey.
I'm with you.
You give up a 5th-round pick for a kicker that you cut 3 weeks later.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you. And you guys think about this for 1 second. Let's say that you had traded 2 first-round picks to the Jags for Ramsey.
Yeah.
what is our conversation right now? One, where is this team? Because record-wise, they're good, but where are they record-wise with that trade?
Yeah.
Potentially. Because I don't think you lose to the Seahawks.
I don't know. Aside from that, though, I don't know that the record is that different. But the
Sure,
way
but the
I
one
feel
win-
about
but the
this team
and the one
going
win-
into the playoffs is different.
And
You might have won
that
in
win's
Kansas
important.
City.
Yeah.
You might have won in Kansas
But
City.
let's give you one more win, and then what Danny said, which is, what's the conversation right now about this team if they have that guy in their secondary?
There's a much
Yeah.
stronger belief in them.